Welcome to beautiful Miller Lake, and we're here with the Lions International celebrating their centennial, 100 years of Lions. Of course, it's Canada's 150th. I have Governor Gary Wood with me. Now, Gary, whereabouts are you from?
I'm with the Sauble Beach and District Lions Club, and I've been the Lion since 2002, and I'm the governor this year, so my job is pretty busy.
It is. I want to ask you a little bit about what exactly does a governor do?
Well, the governor trains for 2 years, and then he becomes governor for only 1 year. You are the CAO for Lions in the district, and we have 49 clubs in our area, including 4 Lioness clubs. And my job is to make sure that everybody's following the rules of audit, that they're doing the things that Lions do, and basically be there for them if they need guidance, and visit all those clubs. So that's pretty busy.
It is, and you know, a lot of people don't think about things like audits and guidance with service clubs, but I mean, there are strict regulations, for instance, for finances.
Exactly.
That the government strictly controls. So.
Yes, and we're very aware of that, and we encourage clubs, because one of our guiding rules is any money we raise on activity events that we're taking money from the public, we encourage our Lions Club to give all that money back in during that calendar year back to the public. Okay,
so that has to be done. You prefer it to be done within the year.
Yeah.
Give it all back. So 49 clubs, what's the geographical territory of that? Because up here, there are a lot of places that are pretty spread out.
Yes, we go geographically from the tip of Tobermory all the way down to Goderich, then across to Mitchell, Ontario, and then back up to just this side of Collingwood, and that's our area. And again, it's a lot of area to cover as a governor, but it's very diverse, and you get to see different kinds of approaches to community projects, community problems.
Sure, because each club is different, because they have different members, so things are going to be a little different focus on particular projects that you're doing.
That's right.
Why did you become a Lion?
I became a Lion because I retired from the fire service / emergency management service, and I was looking for something else in our lives. We had moved to Sauble Beach from down in the Windsor area, and I said we need to do something other. I'd bought the fixer-upper house, fixed it up, and now what am I going to do? So I saw an ad in the local Sauble paper, and I applied along with my wife, and we both became Lions within 2 weeks.
That's great.
Yeah.
And we were here, you know, we've been here for a little while, so you were doing, inducting some new members?
Yeah, today was very interesting. I was approached last night by the Port Elgin Club, and they said, could you swear 2 new members in today? And I said, wow, this is great. And while that was going on, I got talking to one of the spouses of one of our members, and encouraged him here's a good time to join. And I've been after him for a year. And he said, yeah. So we had 3 Lions that were sworn in, so even his wife didn't know about it.
Oh, it's a surprise.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this later, dear.
That's right.
But yeah, it's fun. And, you know, I was talking to one of your longtime members. We're going to hear from him on the show, and asking how he got involved and why. And it's like service.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to give back.
Exactly. And our motto, the Lions motto, is we serve. And that was developed by a Canadian who lived in Toronto back in the 1930s. And we are actually coming into our 2nd century of being Lions. Our birthday is next Thursday on the 7th. We will turn 100 years old. And the motto had always been the international president's choice. So he could come up with some catchy. Last year's motto was new mountains to climb. But going forward in the next 100 years, the motto will stay, we serve.
And you have, I've been doing a little bit of research on Lions. You know, I thought I knew quite a bit about the Lions Club, but obviously there's a big part of it I didn't know about. I knew that you focused on glasses and, you know, sight, that type of thing.
Right.
You work with diabetes.
Yep.
Let's talk about some of the other projects that are under the Lions umbrella.
Yeah, under what we call Lions Clubs International. And the main one is Lions Club International Foundation, and that's where we encourage not just Lions, but organizations, business to donate, and that money goes into funding all the other projects that are going on around the world. So we have Bill Gates in our pocket, and two of our projects, every dollar that we raise, he matches with $1. So we go after that type of things. But we have youth, we have vision, we have environment, we have now diabetes, and also cancer. So all of those things will be our focus going into the next century.
So that's a lot of umbrellas that you have floating around.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you, what's your favorite project?
My favorite project, because we got into it right away, is youth exchange.
Okay.
We have a youth exchange that sends kids out of the country once they're 14 to 22, and they can visit various countries that are part of it, and we're in 210 countries. We also bring students in, and they come in, they'll be arriving this year on July the 8th, and they'll stay till August the 4th, and during that week they'll stay with Canadian families and learn about how Canadians do things. Some of them will be staying on farms, and during that time we run a camp, and they'll be in a camp for approximately 9 days, and they'll be with all the other kids, and then they'll go back to their host families for one final week, and then we take them back to the airport. And great success. We have 17 students or young people from around the world coming in from places in Europe, Indonesia, Japan, you name it, we get kids from there.
And what a great opportunity for both them and for their host families to do a little bit of culture exchange and see how the other half, so to speak.
And we host those. So my wife and I used to run the youth camp, but being governor, I had to drop out. We are hosting 2 kids, maybe 3 kids, and the whole idea with that is we're still involved, but we're not having to do all the high-level work that's involved with taking these young people around to see our neck of the woods, as well as we show them Toronto, Wonderland, Niagara Falls, and all that sort of thing. So that's how we attract so many kids to the area. They want to see Toronto too, you know.
Well, of course, yeah. And you know, when you take over a position, when you step up through the different positions in a club, once you become governor and heading off, you know, higher yet, that's a big responsibility and really a lot of work.
It is, and the whole idea is that my focus has changed because I've got to see over the last 2.5 years of my travels for the governor's team how clubs are the same, but they're different. So the clubs do things differently, and that's okay. We're not as rigid as we used to be. We used to be rigid, and we'd say you have to do it a certain way, and that's the way. Well, now we're saying it's your club, your way. How can we help you succeed? And that's our goal going into the next century.
So when you come to visit a club then, and you know, do they run certain projects by you to see what you think, or they just say this is what we're doing?
No, they like to show off what they're doing, and some have called and said, we'd like to do this. Do you know anybody we can contact? So through our going around, we know of other clubs that may be doing, say, a rubber duck race. So we put them in touch with them and see how they do it, and it may work for them or it may not work for them.
Right.
So.
That's right. Okay, well, that's great.
Yeah.
Highlight of the past year for you?
The highlight, believe it or not, one of the things is incoming governor, you get to go to the International Convention. And the International Convention last June was in Fukuoka, Japan.
Oh.
So we traveled 12 hours plus each way. Once we got there, it was 12 hours, and then we had to take another hour-and-a-half flight to the southern city of Fukuoka, which is kind of in a Florida type of weather. And just to see the Lions there and how passionate they were. And we were in a city that was pretty pure ethnically Japanese. You know, like we were rock stars there.
Okay.
And there's some people today at the park wearing these shirts with small maple leafs on them, white shirts with small maple leafs, and we wore those in the parade. And we were going down the street, and there was other bigger countries than us, United States, Germany, France, you name them, and the way they responded to us was just unbelievable. And it got to the point at the end of the parade, they were following us, and they wanted to trade us for our shirts. And they were wearing a thing called a convention kimono. and we literally took our shirts off in the middle of the street, and they took their kimonos, and we traded right in the middle of the street.
Awesome.
So I still have mine, and just the memories and getting new ideas from around the world. Lions around the world is growing a lot faster than it is in North America. In a few years, I would say that they'll have the majority of the members in China, India, that block over there.
Really?
So we need to pull up our socks a little bit over here and get our memberships back up where they should be. As we know, all service clubs, all volunteer organizations are having trouble attracting volunteer members. So I encourage anyone that's out there that's been thinking of volunteer, now's the time. Join the Lions, join the Rotary, we don't care, but get involved. Become part of the volunteer service.
Thank you so much.
You're
Congratulations
welcome.
on your taking the step as governor, and thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you.
I'm with Tom Gordon. Now, Tom, of course, Lions Club. What is your position?
My position, I'll be the incoming international director from Canada starting in July for 2 years, 2017 to 2019.
That's pretty exciting, and that's really stepping up to the plate. Now, to get to a position like that, I'm assuming you have to work your way through a bunch of positions in the club.
Well, in the club, in the district, in the multiple district, have to be voted on by the multiple district. And in Chicago, I'll be voted in by all of the Lions in the world. So out of the 1.4 million Lions, I guess maybe 50,000 votes will be there to be cast.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
It's pretty scary to speak to a group that big.
It's, obvious you do good work for Lions.
We do.
Yeah, and we've talked a bit about the different projects that Lions do, but I want to talk about your position because, people join a service club and some people, everybody does what they can do, right? Some people just don't have it in them to be able to be the one up in front to take those positions, but they're happily working away in the background, putting in all the volunteer hours on the projects.
Right.
Other people, they want to get more involved and step up to the plate. And obviously, how long have you been a Lion?
35 years.
So, yeah, that's a lot of service hours.
So I've been around a long time, yeah.
A lot of, I didn't want to say it that way. I'm like, that's a lot of service hours. That's a lot of time.
Here is new,
Yeah, giving back to your community and obviously other communities. So when you take over, and you're from which club?
I'm from Newmarket North.
Okay. So when you take over as an international director, then how is your job going to change?
Well, the job up until now has been the different club positions, district positions, multiple district positions. Well, now I represent Canada on the board of directors. There's 34 directors from around the world that actually run the organization for 2 years. And I'll be one of 34, but I'll be the only one from Canada. So I sort of have
those
behind
are pretty big shoes to fill there. Yeah. So obviously you'll get together so many times a year for board meetings?
4 times.
4 times. And where's your international office?
Our international office is in Oak Brook, Illinois.
Okay. And is that where your meetings take place, or do you move them around the world?
Well, they move around the world depending on where the international president is from.
Okay.
It's up to his or her discretions where we meet.
Okay. And international president this year, where's...
The incoming international president is from New Delhi, India.
Oh.
So we're meeting there once. We're in Dubai. We're supposed to be in Miami and Cuba as well. The following year, the incoming international president will be from Iceland, so we're going to Iceland that year, and Milan.
Wow. It must be, I would think, to be in a position of that magnitude, responsibility, but to be able to go around the world to the different areas and see how their clubs perform, everybody doing the same sort of service projects, but a little differently.
Well, Lions are meeting the needs of their communities wherever they are. So different communities, different needs, right? But we do have programs that cover a lot of things, so people don't have to plan from scratch for most things that we do.
Okay.
They can go to the international headquarters. Somebody's already had that experience. They can glean from their experience. Because we have blogs and we have literature that you can get for just about anything you want to plan.
Sure, and why would you, if somebody's already done a project successfully, why would you just reinvent everything?
Not reinventing the wheel anymore. We used to. We used to.
Why did you join the Lions Club?
Well, I went to the Lions Club as a guest speaker. And I was talking about goal setting and setting, action plans and that kind of stuff. And when I was there, they were talking about all the things the Lions Club did in my hometown in Newmarket. And I thought, wow, what a great group of guys. They were doing all this stuff here. And so I said, tell me a little bit more about what you do. And then that's when they said, I shouldn't have opened my mouth, right?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
when they said, oh, would you like to join? I thought,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would, actually. So that's what did it.
Okay, that's great. And how many years ago was that?
35.
So you've been there a while. Obviously, you found your right spot where you want to be.
Found my niche.
Yeah. Out of all the positions that you've held, and you're not quite there for international director yet, so we won't count it, but what has been the most exciting and meant the most to you?
Well, the one that meant the most was actually a zone chairperson, which is farther down, back down the line.
Right.
Working with local clubs, working with 8 separate clubs, but you really get to know them really well. And you have 8 clubs, about 30 people apiece, so you got about 250 people you're working with, and you can get to know 250 people. When you work with a district, that's you're up to 1,200, 1,400 people. It's hard to get to know everybody that way. So the zone person, that was wonderful, and you have to do a lot of training, and that's my background. I'm a trainer, so.
Okay, so that's great. I would think, well, first of all, I would know you have to be retired to be able to take this position that you've taken now, I would think. Or in business for yourself, where you're
yes,
able
in business
to kind
for
of,
yourself.
able, because that's a big commitment.
It is, big time commitment, yes.
Yeah, and I would think for the clubs in all of this district and the district closest to you, it must be really a boon to them to have somebody with your qualifications that they can call on. It's not like you are the international director from, out west somewhere or wherever. Yeah. You're almost in their back door. Yeah,
well, for these folks here, they all know me pretty well over the years. They've met me once or twice before,
Exactly.
Yeah.
What would you tell people if they're thinking of joining a service club?
Well, first of all, I'd tell them to pick Lions. I mean, there are other ones, but we're the best. We're the largest and most active. So if you have a passion, if you have an interest, we probably have a project area that's already set up that you could just become a part of. And if we don't already have set up, you're the committee chair, go.
Right. And how do people join the Lions? What's involved?
It's very simple. If you find a Lions club you want to belong to, you just have to ask to be asked.
And that's it. Go to a meeting? Like, can you call up and find out where a meeting is?
You can. Nowadays, you can go on the web. You just Google and say, okay, Lions in whatever town you're in, and see if they have a club there.
Right. And then just go out and see if that's the fit for you, if there are projects there that interest you, and to be able to give back. I've found, like, in your growing up, were your family, were they volunteers?
Yes.
See, it's interesting. I think almost everybody that you talk to who gets into any type of service group or any volunteering anywhere comes from a volunteering family.
Well, just about everybody, but there are some people who, this is new for them, and they stumble through that first little bit, and that's when you need a mentor in your club to do that. And we try to do that with folks, because we find that we have some people leave because they just didn't feel a part of the group.
Right.
They don't leave because Lions is Lions. They leave because they couldn't work with this group.
That they didn't feel that maybe they were contributing enough or something they're just not feeling. So mentorship is really great.
Mentorship's a big deal, yeah.
So you are voted in Chicago.
I am.
And when is that?
It'll be July 3rd will be the vote, so July 4th they announce it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you're gone.
And then I'm gone. Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah,
I have 3 days of training after that for the new position.
Really? And do you go down to your international office for the training?
Well, this year, because for Lions, this is our 100th year. This is our centennial. So they brought the convention back to Chicago, and Oak Brook is the suburb.
Is that where it started?
That's where it started, yeah.
Oh, okay. So 100 years, they're back there in Chicago.
1917 with Melvin Jones. And what we did was we arranged the convention back there because it's really coming home for that 100th year.
Right.
And so that's why we're back in Chicago this year.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll be reading lots about you online and wherever. We'll follow your trip as you're going around, and it'd be interesting to talk to you when you get back, when you're finished. Just 2 years, right?
Just the 2 years. However, They tell me that once you have this position, you're in it for life. A past international director is there
You're
for
there.
life. Yeah.
You're there.
And
But it'd be interesting to talk to you again to find out some of the highlights from over those 2 years. Thank you so much, Tom.
Well, thank you for the time. Thank you.
I'm here with Lion Ev Barnes. You're from the Scenic City Lions Club, which is based in Owen Sound.
Based in Owen Sound.
How many members do you have, Ev?
We have 18 members.
And you're like every other service club, you're looking for more.
We're always looking for members, always.
And I was asking before how people could join Lions or find out if they were interested. They just have to come to a meeting, right?
They just have to come to a meeting, and our name is also in our book in Owen Sound under service clubs.
Right.
You have to give us a call and come to a meeting.
Why did you join Lions?
I felt I wanted something to do where I could help other people and serve. And I've enjoyed it very much. I started as a lioness back in Bramalea.
Okay.
And then when we moved to Owen Sound, they didn't have lady lions when we moved to Owen Sound. So I had to go to the Lioness Club in Meaford, which I did for a year. And then I got approached, would I start a Lions Club in Owen Sound? And of course I was all for that.
Sure.
I was all for that. And it's been very successful. We started, actually I shouldn't say Lions Club, it was a Lioness Club we started first. And we had about 30, 35 members to start with. And then they approached us to see if we would go Lions. And our whole club went Lions at that point. And basically there's no difference because we're all in there for the same thing. We're all in there to serve.
And you know, I find it really interesting that everybody who joins a service club joins it because they want to give back to the community. And then when you get talking to them when they're in the club and they're involved, they don't ever talk about that, although they're doing it all the time. It's all the fun you have.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So just a great opportunity to just get out, meet people, and get back to your community.
That's right. Get back to your community. And we do. Scenic City is very much involved. As a matter of fact, last Friday I was at the hospice because we had just donated quite a bit of money. And yes, we try to give a lot to the community.
Yeah, and I know it's very appreciated, and I see the Lions name under a number of projects, you know, of all sizes, big and small, all around. Now, I want to talk to you about some of the positions that you've done in Lions, because you've done a number of things.
I have. Well, as I say, when I started as Lioness, I went as far as being the president of the Lioness Club for the whole district. And then when I got into Lions, I have, I think, been on every committee, been chairman of every committee.
That's what happens when you do a good job.
I have been cabinet secretary. This is my third time. I've been around working with the governors, and every one of them have been different.
And let's talk a little bit about that, because I always think, you know, in the different positions, it doesn't matter if you're from president up. It's really the secretary that should get the honors, because if you don't have a good secretary, you have nothing.
Exactly. I think so too.
Yeah. I mean, so as a secretary for the governor, then what all does that entail?
Pretty much everything.
A lot of work.
I do a lot of work. I have 45 clubs that I'm in touch with all the time. If something comes in, it has to go out. It goes out to 45 clubs. And I have a lot of clubs that will ask me different questions that I have to find out. Just recently, we had to have our PU 101s in for this year. That's all the new executive for the coming year.
Right, because that's with your new members, your new executive. That's how your dues, I'm sure, are based.
That's right. Yeah, and
so you got to have that right.
I must have walked 5 or 6 clubs through it. Just walked them through it, and basically anything that the governor gets in touch with you and says, can you send this out? You do it.
Yeah.
But it's...
and do you enjoy it? You must. You've done it for how many governors?
Three governors.
Yeah.
Yes, I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, like I say, we're no different than the men lions, the lady lions. you know, we're all there to serve.
Well, no,
and-
I'd have to disagree with you with that because I do belong to a service club, and I always say that if it weren't for the lady members in the clubs,
Yeah.
there might not be quite as much. Maybe it would still get done, but maybe not organized quite the same.
Well, yes, the women are, I think, a little better in organization.
Yeah, I think
Which
so
I've
too.
worked with a lot of them. I've even worked with Hank.
Oh, even with Hank.
I worked with him. We ran the convention together, his convention. We did a lot together. And yeah, a lot of things. We ran convention 2 years in a row, and yeah,
So you're just a wealth of information for anybody who needs to know anything about Lions.
pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much. Pretty much.
And your Lions Club, Scenic City, because I know some members of different Lions Clubs around. And what's your average age? Is everybody kind of getting a little older now?
Yes, we are. Yes, we
Yeah.
are. We range probably from about, I'd say 55 up to 85. My husband's 85. He just had 50 years in Lionism. They had a party for him last year.
Great.
50 years he's
Wow, that's a
volunteered.
lot of service.
It is. It's a lot of service.
Now, if you were to send a message out there, because I know every service club is the same, they're looking for new members, and, you know, trying to entice people that are a little younger, that might have a little more energy, and, you know, want to give back, what would you say to them?
Just come out and give us a try and see how you like it. You'll meet so many nice people. I've just found that I have so many friends in Lions, and that's what they would learn to. They meet so many people and they
Sure.
enjoy their company, and because we all have so much in common. I think that's basically the same.
You want to give back.
We want to give back.
And I, you know, looking through some of the programs under the Lions umbrella and different projects that you've done, I have to say you would be hard pressed not to be able to find one of those programs that wasn't of interest to someone. Whether
That's
it's
right.
from the site, the diabetes, environment, I mean, you've got everything in there.
Well, I do vision and hearing too in Old
Okay.
Sound. I do a lot of the schools in Old Sound, and basically a lot of things that we have done. Now this morning was a dog walk, and Old Sound Lions did it with our name on it too.
Okay.
And normally we do it together, but so many of us were up here. So but they're coming. They're coming to the boat.
That's great.
So that's good. But
With or without the dogs.
dog.
I know there's so many great fundraisers that you
Yeah.
help out with, and then so the proceeds from the dog walk that was this morning,
We'll go to
what will
Lions.
they be going to?
Lions Foundation.
Okay.
We'll go to Lions Foundation to train the dogs.
Okay, right, and of course those are used for different. They're like service dogs, right?
All of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have quite a few. We have
Yeah.
the diabetic dogs now on of course, the site.
Yes.
You know, the physically
The PTSD.
Yeah,
there's like, it's amazing to watch
vision,
these
hear-
dogs work
eyes,
with their
hearing.
yeah.
All of, it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. We've been to the school several times because we were counselors for youth exchange, my husband and I. So we've been involved in nearly all of the different programs that they've had.
Right, and Tom, I think it was Tom was talking about the youth exchange and how many, actually it was your governor was talking about that, and all the young people that come to this area and then other ones that go to those
That's
areas.
true, that's true.
Great opportunity, you know, cultural exchanges and getting to know folks from around the world. I want to thank you, Ev, for all the work you do for the Lions Club, and thank you for taking time to talk to us. I know this is a busy day. Good luck with your secretarial duties.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more. I'm here with Don Radner. Now, Don, you're from the Havelock Club.
Yes,
And tell me about your position in the Havelock Club. You've done a lot.
I am currently the membership chair and immediate past president, and I am the president-elect and zone chair-elect for Zone 43 West. So
Okay.
I have a busy year coming up.
You do have a busy year, and I know that part of your position is educating people and keeping them interested in Lions.
Well, that's thanks to Lion Albert Munnicke, who is a past district governor, and he invited a friend of mine and myself to be part of his global leadership team.
Okay.
And it's forced me to educate myself on everything that Lions do. And it is a startling and awesome resume that Lions have, and most people have no idea what they're involved in. And it's incredible because this is our 100th anniversary.
Right.
We get to celebrate the service this year.
Right.
And it's really, really cool.
I think when most people think of Lions, the first thing they think of is sight, and your work with that. But there's so much more.
Well, and sight first, and due to our association with Helen Keller, she spoke at a international convention in Cedar Point, Ohio in 1925, and at that time she challenged Lions to become Knights of the Blind. And it has evolved, it has taken on a life of its own. Vision screening in the elementary schools is very big in our district. And to identify problems before they really become big problems. And we have one of the best success stories out there. We have a little girl at 4 years old, and through vision screening they found a problem. And it's a pass or a reference, so it's not you passed or you failed, it's a pass or you should go get your eyes checked at an ophthalmologist. The ophthalmologist found a cancerous tumor. Saved the child's sight, probably saved her life.
I'm sure.
Now, for a 4-year-old child, that might not mean much, but fast forward 35 years, she's the next prime minister. That's impact. That's what Lions do. And so you take the sight one step further, and you talk about a gentleman named George Barnum. And George was the president of the Peoria, Illinois Lions Club in 1930. And his friend who owned a newspaper stand worked across the street. Well, his friend was blind, couldn't get to work. He struggled every day to cross the street. George took it upon himself to paint his cane white, put a red stripe around it, and he lobbied with Peoria City Council, and they passed an ordinance, and the rest, if you will, is history. But that's impact, and that's what Lions do, and that's why in this, our 100th anniversary, we should be screaming from the top of the tallest building at the top of our lungs, educating anybody that'll listen. I mean, you don't get to be the largest service organization on earth. You know, 1.4 million members in 230 countries or geographical areas. People should know who you are by now.
Exactly. And I think, you know, for a lot of us, unless you don't think of those things for the ordinary person unless it impacts you.
And
you know, I remember being at a meeting once, because I used to be on a board for the CNIB. One of our board members, who was blind, came to the meeting, and his local Lions Club had bought some kind of a reader for him. And he was telling me, like, I don't have to have anybody read my meeting notes to me anymore. I don't have to have somebody read my magazines to me. He just put them page by page into this machine, and it read them to him. And I'm thinking, what a difference it makes in this man's life.
And that's impact.
Yeah.
And our slogan for our 100th anniversary is where there's a need, there's a lion. And you can't imagine. I have had such an education this year in what Lions do. And in terms, and I can only address our district, but in terms of LCIF, which is the charitable arm, Lions Clubs International Foundation, and it's a grant application that for whatever you may need. There are 4 core grants, of course, sight being one of them, but we did the global leadership presentation, and as we went from club to club, we heard, well, you forgot to mention that we received an LCIF grant for. And then we go to another club, and you forgot to mention that we received an LCIF grant for. So we learned that they got grants for the ice storm, for the flooding in Foxborough, for the Peterborough Regional Health Center radiation unit. And you find out that, oh, you know, we're really involved in just about everything. And so it's an awesome feeling when you get to, hey, we did that. And when the more clubs that I've spoken to, and you tell them this stuff, and they kind of look at you and go, really? Yeah, we did that.
Well, I think you're an excellent face behind this position, because, you know, you're getting me excited about all these projects just listening to you here.
It's so cool.
You have a lot of passion.
Well, it's pretty easy to have passion, because when you meet one of these people that you've touched, and our club, and I will address this personally because I'm so proud of it, we bought a hearing assist dog from the Lions Foundation, and we actually met the recipient. And that's impact. When he gets to look you in the eye and say thank you, that's impact. And I don't know if you know about the Lions Foundation of Canada or if anybody's talked to you about dog guides, but we train and distribute pretty near 200 dogs a year. And the only waiting list to date now is for Autism Assist. And because you saw the advantage it gave our children, somebody else saw the advantage it gave your children, and word of mouth has dictated that, you know, we can't fill the need fast enough.
Right, and in our area, we actually do have a young lady who has an Autism Assist dog, and it's made, for those of us who were involved with it and see her, we know it just means the world. And
that's, again, that's impact. And that's what we get as Lions. We have the right, and we should be celebrating that in every way possible. And I think people, Lions members especially, don't get excited about it. And we should. When you ask in your local community, and my own community is funny, what do Lions do? Oh, they run a bingo. You know, what do Lions do? Oh, they sell 50-50 tickets. And so instead of having to do that, when you go to present the check, when you buy the books for the literacy program at your elementary school, show them that. Well, you know, when you make the contribution to your local food bank, share that information. And when you buy the jerseys for the hockey team or the baseball team or the soccer team, when you do that type of stuff in your own community, celebrate that, advertise that. And I think it goes to show as well, when you're selling those tickets, tell people where the money's going, all the different... We've put together a bulletin board, and this is local, this is provincial, this is national, this is international. Every time you buy a ticket, this is what you're supporting. And it's really helped to explain to the public what it is we do. And I think it's part of the process to educate, and educate. It is such a huge organization that is into so much, and with each club being autonomous, your club could be so completely different to ours. What you do may have a huge impact on your community, but it's completely different than what we do. But the impact is the same. Right. It affects lives. And I think one of the things I've learned is that you never underestimate the fact that touching one life may not change the world, but to change that one life, the world for that one life. That's for sure. And so for any of them, whether it's sight or autism, or I'm trying to think of all the different service dogs there are now. Well, there's 6 different service dogs. Okay. We do vision, hearing, service, which is for people wheelchair bound. There's diabetic alert, there is seizure response, and autism. And each one is its own specific skill set. And it is my goal for our own club is that over my term, I want to purchase one of each. Okay. And they're not cheap. No. There's a lot of work goes into those dogs. There's not cheap. They cost about $25,000 by the time they get in the hands of the person that needs them. And what's really cool is that the person that needs them doesn't cost them a cent. Not a penny. That's what the Lions Foundation of Canada and Lions do. So if you can get a club to sponsor the dog, then the cost of training or the cost of the puppy itself is paid for. Then the training and the accommodation and the education, everything is looked after by the foundation. And how long does training take? Because both the dog and then the person getting them have to be trained, right? Well, once the dog is trained, the person getting the dog is brought to Oakville, and up to 4 weeks they stay in Oakville. Room and board, everything's included. Usually, because they're a special needs individual, they will have someone with them. And it could take up to 28 days to train you how to use your dog. And so, again, it costs you nothing. And again, that is impact. It is impact. You've done a wonderful job of explaining just, the tip of the iceberg, the impact that the Lions have on individuals throughout the world and throughout our communities. I want to thank you for doing that, and thank you for taking time to talk to us. We've been at Lions Centennial at Miller Lake Park. Thanks for joining us. Well, we're here at beautiful Miller Lake, of course, and I'm with Pete Bissonette. And Pete, you are from which Lions Club?
St. Davidson District.
And that's Niagara in the Lake?
That's Niagara in the Lake.
And how long, I want to ask you, because you're a long time Lion. How long have you belonged to Lions?
It was 64 years, the beginning of January of this year.
Wow, 64 years doing service to your community, and probably service before you joined a service club, because most people do. Why did you join the Lions Club?
Well, it was the service club in the village of Arthur when I started practice there.
Okay.
And they just automatically said, you're going to join, and I'd been going to anyway.
Yes.
My father was a member ahead of me.
In the Lions?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a family tradition for you, because you said your 2 sons are Lions as well?
Yes.
Great.
They're both.
And what clubs do they belong to?
I have to think for a second. Aaron, my youngest son, and Sarnia, it used to be Sarnia Township, my older son.
Okay. All right. So it's a whole family tradition. Now, 64 years belonging to Lions. I'm sure you've held a number of positions. What all have you done? Maybe I should say, what haven't you done?
I've never been a treasurer. I never wanted to be.
Okay.
But I think I've done every other job there is.
Okay, including governor.
Including governor.
And did you say you were governor twice?
No,
Just once?
I got 2 sons that were both governors.
Oh, that's it. Okay. So, and you know, when you're in a service club and you get involved and you're holding down the different positions, governor is like, that's a pretty, what's the word I want? I mean, that takes a lot of time.
It does.
If you're going to do it right.
If you're going to do it right, or if you're going to do it at all, you might as well do it right. And the clubs appreciate the governor that does it right. So
now, as governor, because I'm not sure of how your clubs or your districts are formed, so what district would you be governor over when you went?
I was governor of A9, which includes this area here.
Okay.
Right now, I'm living in A2, which is down along Lake Erie and up the Niagara area.
Okay.
So that's, well, my one son was governor of 7-Eleven, which is Toronto and a big chunk north of Toronto. And the other son was A1, which is down the shore of the lake down lower, and along Lake Erie, yeah.
Okay, so the district that you were governor over included this. What else did it include? Like, how big an area is it? How many clubs would be in there?
There was 42 clubs in those days, and the area here, A9 at that time, took in Barrie and Alliston and down to Orangeville, to Guelph, Stratford, and then cut across, taking in a lot of Huron County, like Mitchell, and up the lake shore to the north, included all of the Bruce Peninsula.
Wow, so that's a big area, and that's a lot of traveling.
It was.
It's a big commitment.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and as governor, during that position, what are you expected to be doing?
In those days, we very strictly visited every club at least once.
Okay.
And as governor, you're almost the master of your area. You just use common sense and tradition.
So you're going to be helping out with problems that come up with different clubs and that type of thing.
That's what you're there for.
Yeah, helping out with
yes,
all kinds of things, from recruitment, I'm sure, to I don't know what all, but lots of things to look after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's whatever you make it. And if you make it a big job, you can have a lot of fun at it too.
Now, talking over your 64 years as a Lion, let's talk about a couple of your favorite moments, highlights of your career, shall we say, with Lions?
Oh, goodness. I think one of the biggest thrills I had was watching my sons become governors, too. One in, I believe it was '05 in Hong Kong, and another in 14 in Toronto. And I was made governor in Toronto when the International Convention was there. 50 years later, it came back to Toronto, and my son was a governor.
It's an interesting thing with service clubs when you see, well, with anything actually, where people go out and volunteer. Most of them say, you ask them why they volunteer, and they say, because my parents did. It's something that they learn at home, the giving back.
Oh, yes. As a kid, Dad was in Stratford Lions, and they used to have a jamboree, and we went down and helped jamboree, stuff like that. It was just automatic. And then when it came time to be a Lion, I was.
You stepped forward, and now here you are. You're still working away, helping out with different projects.
Still at it, yes. I still chair a couple of committees in the club, and it sounds like an awful lot of bragging, but it is just straight fact.
Yeah, and it's funny, you know, you want a job done, you give it to a busy person, and it seems like once you retire, you get busier doing all those things.
I will say I had less time to work at it after I retired, yes.
That's funny. So Pete, what's next for you?
Really not very much. Well, I'm going to Chicago to the 100th anniversary. And there are half a dozen members of my club are going. And there'll be a lot of people that I know there. And
yeah.
It'll be a big time. Yeah.
That's the other bonus of service clubs is over the years you form so many friendships.
Oh, yeah. And anywhere you go in this world, you can go to a Lions Club.
Yeah.
And
be welcome.
Well, I've worked in Europe a bit and so on. You go to a club that's there, Vienna, and a whole lot of bunch of
All right.
France.
Well, Pete, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule during the convention here to talk to us. Thanks very much. We'll be right back. Well, I'm with Hank Van Moorsel here at your centennial, the Lions Centennial, and I see you're a past district governor.
I am a past district governor. They sometimes refer to past district governor who, because we're no longer in the upper echelon.
Oh, you're not a somebody anymore.
Not a somebody.
You're always a somebody.
Thank you.
Anybody who belongs to any service club is a somebody.
Thank you.
For all the dedication work that they do. Now, which Lions are you from?
I'm with the Tiverton and District Lions Club.
Okay.
I've been with them for 35 years. And
wow.
A great group of guys and girls.
Yeah, so you really know the area over there and the projects that you've done. But are you responsible for planning this weekend up here at beautiful Miller Lake?
With others, but yes, it was the governor that got my attention and said that he thought we could rent the Chichiman, which I thought was ridiculous, that they would never rent it, especially to us. Well, they agreed they would rent it, and lo and behold, we thought we might get 300 people. It was a stretch, so we started asking, and as of today, we're full, 440 people on the boat for a sunset cruise, so we're excited to get going.
Amazing. Where do they take you out around the islands and back again?
Yes, rather than taking a trip from Tobermory to South Baymouth, they're going to take us in and around the islands and then turn us to face the sunset. At sunset, we've got a pipe band aboard that will pipe the sunset down, and it's going to be tremendous. It
is going to be tremendous, and what a great way to end, well, not really end the weekend, because you're going to have a little bit more tomorrow, but to bring it all to ahead, really. So this centennial, you're celebrating 100 years of Lions.
Yes, we are. And for the most part, and even this weekend, a lot of Lions couldn't make it because they're doing their service projects. Dog walks, pancake breakfast, all these projects are going on, yard sales. So we got as many as we could because this isn't a fundraiser. This is a celebration. This is our celebration of thanking the Lions for what they do all year long. And I'm pleased so many came to participate because often they don't want a pat on the back. They just want to get out and do their service.
Well, sure,
so.
yeah, that's why people do it, just to give back, right? If volunteers were paid, that'd make a big dent in somebody's wallet.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Why did you join the Lions Club?
I joined the Lions Club, it was in Tiverton actually, and it was because I kept taking my kids to functions and the Lions were running them. And it felt a little guilty while I'm standing on the sidelines and a little bit useless. I'm standing there while they're entertaining my children and Easter egg hunts and Christmas parties and such. So it only made sense to get in and help. So that's why I joined Lions.
You joined and you've been busy ever since, obviously.
Now helping other kids and grandkids. So, you know, it's all about, for me, it's all about the youth. Our youth programs are tremendous.
That's wonderful. So up here this weekend, where are some of the members from that have come? Because they've come from a large area to attend this.
Yes, Toronto and all that area. We have some from up by Havelock. And so our multiple district covers pretty much all of Ontario. So we've got, I think there's 5 hours, Chatham. So right from the bottom and right from the top, we've got some from all over.
Wow, that's great. And I'm sure a lot of them, once they've been here for this, will be back because it's a beautiful piece of Ontario.
Absolutely.
We're so lucky to live where we do.
Oh, it's tremendous. And we went up to check the Tobermory before to make sure everything was in order. And you could see right to the bottom of the bay. And you think, how fortunate are we to be in this area, right? With crystal clear water. So.
I hope when you're out on the cruise that they take you around through the national park past the grotto because the water there is just something else. People come from all around the world to have what we have in our backyard every day.
Right, exactly. No, it's tremendous.
So what's been happening here at the park for your centennial? When did people arrive? Last night?
They started arriving last night just with a social, and today we had Canadian Mental Health put on a puppet show, and Jackie Ralph was just tremendous. That show is it's built for children originally, but it's geared to adults as well, about bullying and self-esteem and all that. And we found it was applicable to everyone. So it was a great joy to have it. And then we've just got games and fun. It's all about participation.
Well, it's a great opportunity for Lions and Lionesses to meet people from other clubs and to renew friendships, for sure.
Absolutely. And I did hear some chat about what's your project, what's my project. And that's kind of the way we learn to try new projects in your community, right? If it's successful somewhere else, why wouldn't we share it and try it? So
exactly. Or
a lot of that contact.
Something's not working, then what are we doing wrong that we can't get this off the ground and that type of thing. So sharing all kinds of information. So what happens for the rest of the year for you now?
Well, after a nice long rest, I think we'll be looking at and one of the things that came up was having this park for an annual barbecue and camp out. We used to have camp outs and that sort of faded away, but they've been so good to us. The owners are also Lions. And I think we could make it an annual event, and we'll start reintroducing this, getting the Lions from all of Ontario together and share ideas, how we can make our service club stronger.
So I was talking to Ev, and she belongs to Scenic City, which is around Owen Sound, and then of course there's Kemble, there's Meaford, there's a number of clubs just within the Owen Sound area.
Oh, absolutely, and right up here to
Tobermory.
Yes, Tobermory as well. So we do have a lot of clubs, and they're all very active. Even though some of them don't have a lot of members, they're very active. So.
Yeah, I find sometimes some of the smaller clubs are as active or bigger projects than a lot of the bigger clubs are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So they do need the help for sure. And one of the, when we were talking about a membership, one of the things that we're encouraging, if there's a younger person that wants to join but feels a little bit, do I belong? We encourage them to bring their group with them. There was a group in Port Elgin wanted to build a water park. And so that group joined the Lions Club, and together they were able to push that project through. So we're saying to groups, if you need help, we are there to help. So, it's just another way to become part of a service group.
Yeah, that's great. It's all about building bridges and working hand in hand with other groups and organizations, and especially in this area where we're so small.
Yes, Exactly.
it means so much more.
Yep.
So in your club now, you're obviously a past president, you're the past district governor, you've probably been a few past other things.
Yep.
What are you doing in your club now?
I am, next year I will be the president again of our club. So we go third vice, second vice president. So I'll do that again next year. So now if there's one thing I've learned, and I'm hoping I can apply it next year, is delegating. Delegating is a strong feature in Lions, and that includes everyone. We don't, some people want to go and do it themselves. We need to delegate, get everybody involved, and that, I think, has built our strongest clubs.
Yeah, and I think that's the way you have to keep your members interested and busy, because people join service clubs to be able to do service and do projects. So get them out there and get them working.
Yep.
So, you know, any projects on the go in your area? Big projects that you're tackling?
Probably the biggest one, and it's funny because it's in this peninsula. There's a young fellow that's was adopted when he was 6 months old, and he's now 15 years old. He's grown into an adult size. He needs wheelchairs, he needs accessibility, and the bills are quite high. And we're hoping that with this weekend, some of that funding can help there, and that we can then put out a public address for all the Lions clubs to help with that. So that's
so
probably one. So
you're going to be doing some renovations on their home?
On the home, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, that type of thing.
Significant renovation, about $10,000 worth. So we're hoping to get some help in that regard.
All right. I think we have about 30 seconds left. So I'm going to ask you what your favorite project has been since you've been with Lions.
Well, that was easy for me because I had one where we were going to collect bicycles and send them to third world countries. And I started out, I wanted to collect 100 bicycles. Well, the story, as it goes on, we ended up sending over 1,000 bicycles to Africa.
I can see why they got you behind this project here, Hank, because obviously when you get behind something, it's like 110%.
Right on. It seems somehow we can get the enthusiasm transferred from us into the others, and that takes off.
That's great. Thanks so much for talking with us today.
Thank you.